I had just finished replacing the head gasket on Mrs. Carmichael's '02 Civic when a streak of electric violet lit the dusk over midnight meadows. Every July, the abandoned cow pasture behind the feed store transformed into a phosphorescent playground for the glow-in-the-dark mini-golf tournament, the kind of small-town spectacle where you could win a plastic trophy, a coupon for curly fries, and bragging rights until deer season. By 8:30, the western horizon had swallowed the sun, and the fresh-cut grass simmered under black-light rigs. Fluorescent windmills turned languidly, candy-coloured asteroids dangled from fishing line, and neon tubing edged every putting lane like radioactive linguine. In the centre of it all preened Cyrus Vale, the self-proclaimed Michelangelo of mini-golf. Cyrus wore a tuxedo jacket dotted with tiny LEDs that pulsed to his heartbeat. He'd shown me the circuitry at the garage last week, rambling about biofeedback art while I rotated his tires. "Max you," he called when I ducked under the ticket arch. "Don't scuff the felt, my good man. That mechanic's swagger of yours could register as a seismic event." I rolled my eyes but handed over my admission anyway. Cyrus was irritating, but I admired the meticulous insanity of his designs. Hole 3 involved levitating magnets. Hole 9 required bank shots across mirrored pyramids. And Hole 13, his pride, was nicknamed the Black Hole, a spiral ramp circled by concentric rings of neon that pulsed from ultraviolet indigo to supernova white. Beside the concession trailer stood Jenna Bright, host of Meadow FM's morning show, calibrating her smartphone for live streaming. "Max, you playing or just spectating?" She wore glow-stick earrings and that permanent smile the radio audience never got to see. "Probably getting humiliated," I said. "But I brought my lucky wrench." I tapped the stubby 10mm socket clipped to my belt, half talisman, half multi-tool. Jenna angled her phone. "Say hi to the internet," I waved. Behind us, Mayor Roland Holt posed for publicity photos with Cyrus, each of them clutching neon-striped putters like crossed sabres. The mayor's assistant, Paula Finch, fussed with Holt's sash. I caught her muttering about the tight schedule. Cyrus had insisted the mayor play the ceremonial first round promptly at midnight for maximum cosmic symbolism. Players filed to their starting holes while speakers pumped in synthwave. I spotted Lila Vaughan, manager of the Meadowland Funplex, frowning at Cyrus's handiwork. Her amusement centre had lost this year's contract when the council voted for Cyrus's immersive pasture experience instead. A few lanes over lurked Elias Shaw, town councilman and professional budget pincher. He watched the neon tubes like a hawk eyeing a power bill. At 11:57 p.m. the lights dimmed further, plunging everything except the glowing course into planetary darkness. A drum roll thundered from hidden speakers. Cyrus vaulted onto a stepladder beside Hole 13, arms outstretched like a televangelist. People of Midnight Meadows, prepared to be... Bang! A bolt of white arc light erupted from the railing, lancing into Cyrus's chest. Sparks spat across the green, painting his tuxedo in jagged daylight. The smell of singed wool and ozone slapped the air. Cyrus convulsed, dropped the microphone, and slumped over the spiral ramp, LEDs on his jacket blinking chaotic Morse before fading to black. For 3 seconds nobody moved. The moment felt staged, one of Cyrus's theatrical gimmicks. Then Jenna screamed. Someone cut the music. The mayor shouted for an ambulance while Paula fumbled her phone. I vaulted the rope and knelt by Cyrus. No pulse. Burn mark over his sternum shaped like a melted starburst. The paramedics arrived fast. Luckily the firehouse was 2 blocks away. but by 12:15 they'd declared what I already knew. Midnight Meadows' glow-in-the-dark impresario was dead, electrocuted by his own masterpiece. Sheriff Ortega cordoned the area with yellow tape. Under the harsh utility lights, she and Deputy Finch catalogued the scene. I meandered near the black hole, hands in pockets, mind working a gearbox of questions. "Don't contaminate my scene, Max," Ortega warned. "Just looking," I said. "You got an electrician on call?" "County inspectors en route." She turned to deal with Mayor Holt, leaving me by the railing that had blasted Cyrus. Up close, I noticed a crude splice. Original neon wire terminated in a factory connector, but someone had hacked in a length of bare copper, bypassing the transformer and grounding. The insulation had been peeled back then taped over in black, invisible under UV. My mechanic's gut twisted. This wasn't a manufacturing defect. Somebody had rewired the course like a booby trap. The sheriff herded witnesses for statements. I watched as Lila Vaughan argued with Elias Shaw about refunds, while Daphne Sparks, Cyrus's former apprentice, who'd opened her own design studio across the state line, paced nervously, mascara streaking under ultraviolet glare. Ortega eventually waved me over. "Since you fixed Cyrus's van last month, you qualify as known associate. Give me your version." I complied, then added, "Sheriff, that splice on the neon rail looks intentional." She jotted something. "You a certified electrician now?" "I know my way around current." Ortega sighed. "County inspector can figure it." I recognized that tone. Bureaucratic stall until morning. By then, half our suspects would have lawyered up or fled. I decided not to wait. I spent the next morning in my garage, Valley Motors, nursing burnt coffee and scanning social media. Cyrus's death had detonated across the internet. Conspiracy threads multiplied like rabbits. I ignored them and studied photos spectators had posted hours before the accident. In several wide shots, I spotted Paula Finch kneeling by the black hole, ostensibly adjusting signage. In another, Councillor Shaw inspected a power junction box, and there was Daphne, hands on hips, glowering at Cyrus while he gestured grandly. At 9 a.m, Ortega stopped by to borrow extension cords for the summer fair. Small-town life doesn't halt for homicide. I offered them in exchange for information. She hesitated. "Fine, off the record," she said. Inspector found unauthorized copper bridging the high-voltage input straight to the railing. Whoever did it knew removing the ground fault would send full amperage through whoever touched the metal. Knew or guessed. The splice was soldier neat, shrink-tubed inside. Ortega's eyes narrowed at me. "You working your own investigation, you?" "Just trying to keep my neighbors alive." She left with the cords, reminding me to stay out of trouble. I locked up the shop and headed for the hardware store. Warren's Hardware keeps paper receipts like it's still 1987, which made my job easier. Warren himself was shelving floodlights. "Need anything, Max?" "Maybe," I said. "Anyone buy number 6 copper, half-inch heat shrink, and UV-rated tape this week?" Warren scratched his beard. "Pretty common combo. Let's check the ledger." He flipped pages. "Bought Tuesday noon. Name on account. Meadowland Funplex. Lila Vaughan's joint." Interesting. Lila had motive. Cyrus stole her client base. But hardware purchases alone aren't a smoking gun. I thanked Warren and drove to the Funplex, a crumbling arcade smelling of popcorn grease. Lila was in her office, sleeves rolled, calculating payroll. I laid the receipt on her desk. "Care to explain?" Her shoulders sagged. "Those were for a laser tag repair. Check the tag arena. We replaced faulty wiring Wednesday." Mind if I inspect? She escorted me to the black light maze. The shrink-tubed joints looked fresh, matching Warren's supply. Could be legit. Still, Lila's resentment towards Cyrus was no secret. I didn't kill him, she said, reading my silence. I wanted him humiliated by ticket sales, not dead. Where were you at 11:50 last night? Arguing with Elias over insurance. Half the council wanted to pull the plug before the grand opening. Ask the caterer, they heard us. I recorded her statement and left, brain-juggling possibilities. Each suspect had proximity, but opportunity and expertise varied. Daphne certainly understood neon wiring. Paula had access. Elias had financial motive. The mayor perhaps valued spectacle over safety, but lacked technical know-how. That afternoon, Jenna Bright visited the garage with a USB drive. Found this on my GoPro, thought you'd want it. We plugged it into the office PC. The footage showed Jenna roaming the course pre-tournament, chatting with players. At timestamp 23:35, the lens drifted past hole 13. The area was empty except for Paula Finch crouched near the base of the spiral, fiddling under the rail. The camera zoomed unintentionally. Jenna must have brushed the toggle, capturing Paula stripping insulation from a copper line before Jenna swung away. 2 minutes later, Paula stood, dusted her skirt, and walked toward the VIP tent. Jenna whistled. Paula's job description includes sabotage. I copied the clip. This is gold. Be careful, Jenna said. Politics get dirty. I phoned Ortega, but call went to voicemail, probably wrangling the parade permits. Rather than let the video age on a desk, I grabbed my leather jacket and headed to City Hall. City Hall's rear lot held Paula's Prius. I recognized her inside the conference room, briefing the mayor and council members, projector humming. I rapped the glass. Paula excused herself and stepped into the corridor. Max, we're busy planning a memorial, she said crisply. I played the video on my phone. Her expression flickered, shock trailed by calculation. Then she smiled. Convenient editing. The raw files identical. Why were you rewiring hole 13? I wasn't. I was attaching a last-minute sponsor decal. Cyrus asked me to. With wire strippers. She folded her arms. If you're accusing me, talk to the sheriff. Gladly. I'm meeting her tonight. Paula's facade cracked, eyes darting. Fine. Yes, I adjusted the wiring. Cyrus discovered a flicker. He told me which cable to reseat. I used my old electrician skills. The splice must have been faulty already. So you admit hands-on involvement. I helped him, yes, under his direction, she said slowly, choosing each word like stepping stones across lava. Now, if you'll excuse me. She retreated into the conference room. Through the door's frosted panel, I saw her whisper to Mayor Holt, who glanced at me nervously. Sunset bled over the meadows when Ortega called. Get to the station, Max, and bring whatever you've got. I arrived to find Daphne Sparks in cuffs, eyes swollen. Ortega said they'd found wire cutters and neon tubing scraps in Daphne's rental car. A search warrant for her studio was pending. I don't like it, I told the sheriff outside the holding cell. Someone planted evidence. Ortega rubbed her temples. Give me a reason to think that. I handed over Jenna's full video. Ortega watched twice. Hell, why didn't you bring this sooner? Tried. Ortega groaned. Politics. She released Daphne on recognizance, ignoring the protests of Deputy Finch, Paula's cousin, I suddenly remembered. That blood link could explain procedural shortcuts. Deputy's been pushing Daphne as prime suspect, I whispered. Ortega's brow furrowed. Finch swore he found that evidence alone at the scene. If it's planted, we have internal contamination. She exhaled. I need solid proof Paula modified that rail intentionally. I nodded. Let me tear down hole 13. You have until dawn. After that, county bulldozers clear the pasture. Liability nightmare. Midnight Meadows was silent except for crickets and distant traffic. I parked the service truck beside the black hole's skeleton of deactivated neon. With a headlamp and insulated gloves, I followed the copper bypass from the rail through a conduit to a junction box labelled Feed A. Inside, normal current should have run 120 volts AC, stepped down for decorative tubing. Instead, Paula's splice rerouted a 240-volt supply directly, doubling voltage and amps. Yet another detail nagged. The cable choice was industrial grade, far beyond the contractor's spec. I traced it underground to a secondary breaker hidden under a false irrigation hatch. Bolted to the bracket was a timed relay wired for midnight activation. I whistled. The trap only went lethal when the relay clicked, meaning Cyrus could test the rail earlier without harm. Whoever set it expected a victim at midnight, likely the mayor scheduled for the ceremonial put. Cyrus died because he climbed the ladder first. I photographed everything, then cracked open the relay's casing. Manufacturers stamp serials on the circuit board. I zoomed in. SNPF 004. Initials. Maybe coincidence. Maybe Paula Finch with a sly sense of ownership. My headlamp caught motion at the edge of the fairway. Paula strode toward me, ponytail swinging, flashlight off. In her hand glinted a revolver. You're trespassing, Max, she said. I kept my voice steady. You planned to fry the mayor for an insurance payout? He would have survived, she insisted. Just a jolt to scare the council into abandoning Cyrus's vanity projects. The cancellation clause was worth $2 million to the town, half earmarked for my department. But Cyrus rushed the stage and... She swallowed. Collateral damage. And Daphne was your patsy? She had motive. Everyone knows she hates Cyrus. Plant a few scraps, easy narrative. Paula advanced, gun levelled. Hand me the phone. I edged toward my tool bag. Paula, I'm a mechanic. I know how electricity blows back. Even if Holt only got scared, the investigation would have exposed your splice. Her smile flattened. Then you and I share a risk profile. I hurled my 10mm wrench. She flinched, shot wide. I dove behind the black hole's fiberglass volcano. Second shot ricocheted off metal. Grabbing a coil of extension cord, I looped it around a neon support and yanked. The panel toppled, obscuring her line of sight. She circled. I scrambled for the breaker I'd opened earlier. Paula fired again, shattering a UV bulb overhead. Glass tinkled like ice. I slammed the 240-volt breaker closed. The neon coils hummed as current surged, but the lethal relay was still bypassed. I yanked my insulated wire cutters and severed Paula's copper splice. Sparks spat harmlessly into the dirt. She didn't notice. The gun smoked, hammer cocking. I ducked and threw the cutters. They nailed her wrist. The revolver spun to grass. By the time she lunged, I tackled her into the turf and pinned her with my knee until Ortega's cruiser lights washed the field blue-red. Dawn painted the sky coral when Ortega finished my statement. Paula sat cuffed in the cruiser, silent, eyes hollow. Deputy Finch stared at the grass, betrayed. Your relay photos clinched motive and method, Ortega said, handing back my phone. You're a stubborn asset, you. Cyrus deserved justice. She nodded towards the horizon where contractors dismantled the neon. What'll happen to the tournament? Maybe we rebuild, I said. Safer, brighter, without murder. Jenna arrived with coffee, eyes red but determined. Broadcast goes live in 10. Want to reassure the town, Detective Mechanic? I smiled wearily. Sure, but leave out the part where I almost got shot. She winked. No promises. An hour later, the mayor, humbled but alive, announced a memorial scholarship for young designers in Cyrus's name. Daphne donated blueprints for a new, less lethal course. Lila's Funplex got the renovation contract. Midnight Meadows would glow again, this time grounded, bonded, and inspected twice. As for me, I hung the scorched 10mm wrench above the garage doorway. A reminder that sometimes the difference between fixing engines and solving murders is just location, lighting, and the courage to tee up when fate drops the ball at your feet.